Sorry. I'm really terrible. But anyway, so we're going to start off with Dan, who's part of our integrator team, and he's going to talk to you about the development side of Moodle.
Hi, everyone. I'm on the integration team. It's a bit of a confusing name because people probably think it's like integrations with other services and things like that. But what our team actually does is quality control for Moodle on the technical side. So the Moodle development process has multiple stages of peer review. We've got like a peer review stage, and then the final stage, deciding whether it gets into Moodle Core or not, is integration review. So me and my team are reviewing things that come in and rejecting them, and with the point of this is that Moodle is deployed on such a diverse range of situations, and for a lot of developers, they'll develop something really specifically for their needs. So it might be schools or universities often, and they're not necessarily thinking about other sectors and other use cases. So that's where we sit. Right now, at the moment, Moodle 3.3, we just entered the code freeze last week. Code freeze is when we stop accepting new features and we just move on to stabilizing Moodle and just accepting bug fixes for the new release. And during this time, we do quality assurance testing where we're trying to invite more people to test Moodle in different environments. So one way that you can really help us at this time and every 6 months is download the Moodle beta release and actually run the testing on your production environments and report bugs. If you report bugs at this time, like we get them fixed, and it means that we're solving those issues, and you're not having to wait for it later. I realize that for a lot of organizations, you won't be deploying Moodle 3.3 for a long time, but it's really extremely valuable if you can just do a quick bit of testing on the latest release, because you can identify those issues earlier and help us that way. In this release particularly, we have integration with Google Docs, better integration with Google Docs and Microsoft Live services, and there's like Facebook login. And that's one area where, particularly in your real use cases with your institutional deployments, if you can do some testing out this new feature, it will really help us, because we don't know all your different environments. So we've also got the quality assurance testing, which the community get involved with, and I think Mary's going to talk about that. Well, so we have a set of quality assurance tests, and the idea is that we get people from the community to go and test this functionality out every release, and we ask for volunteers, and we have a testing site, so even if you don't have a test environment, you can participate with that, and we find a lot of issues that way, and we solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Dan, for that. And it is something that that call for assistance and call for testing, it is done through the Moodle.org forums, and we will tweet out any of the links to all of that sort of information and any of those docs page afterwards as well. Thank you. So Mary, can you give us an update on the community side?
Yes, and I'll carry on from what Dan was saying. I was going to ask you to put your hands up if you go on Moodle.org, but the way the lights are, I can only actually see Tim Hunt directly in front of me. I know he goes on Moodle.org, so I'm not going to ask you that, but I am going to encourage you very much. If you haven't, or if you don't go there often, please do go to Moodle.org, first of all, because that is the way to go to the forums, and one of those there is a way in where you can go in the QA testing forum and send a message to Helen Foster saying, I want to be a tester, can I have an account? And then you can go and you can try out the new features in the manual QA tests we have that Dan mentioned. And as Dan said, we have a site, a QA site, which means that you can try all the new features and improvements for yourself, even if you can't get your own development site. And it's actually quite fun because it gives you an opportunity not only to try these things, but also to help us if you find that something doesn't work, for instance. It's a great advantage. Also, I'd like to encourage you on the other forums there, because it's a great way of Moodle HQ connecting with regular Moodle users, be they administrators, teachers, whatever, so that we can find out what you like, what annoys you, what new improvements you would request. Some people have said, yeah, I don't go there very often because it's very, very technical. Well, that's not really true, because there is a forum, Teaching with Moodle, on moodle.org, which is looked after by me, which is entirely just for discussing teaching with Moodle. So it doesn't only have to be technical things. And there are dedicated forums for different activities as well, and as well as for administration and installation and so on. But the other thing about moodle.org is that it is the main community site. So on that front page, also there's a link to the documentation. And the documentation is supposed to be a wiki that everyone can collaborate in to help us to write. And just as with the forums on Moodle.org, it isn't only in English. There are forums in different languages. I try to join in the French and German ones, for instance. And there is documentation in different languages. So just if it doesn't matter if your native language isn't English, you can still contribute to the forums and documentation of your language. And I know Gavin said we have people from many different countries speaking different languages in this particular MOOC. And also, to help out the community, as you go into Moodle.org, in the top band with the links, you'll see a link to Moodle.net, which is our sharing site. Now, if you don't have a whole course that you're able to share, there's still places there where you can upload, for instance, a competency framework that your organization might have made or you might have adapted that other people can use, or a user tour. These are the new things. So you might have a user tour you've tried, it works for you. You could share that. Or another popular one, quiz questions. You might have made a quiz with some really cool questions. You can export it from your site and share it through Moodle.net for the others. And there's more. You could even contribute to translating new plugins of Moodle from our translation site. And finally, one of my favorites, you can either yourself or you can encourage people in your organization to join our Learn Moodle MOOC. And we run these twice a year, and the next one starts on June the 19th. And it's for anyone who wants to learn how to use the basics of teaching with Moodle. It's not an administrative course, although it is great when administrators come in, because it gives them an aspect of Moodle that they might not normally see, actual teaching with Moodle, rather than setting it up and tweaking the admin settings. It's even good if you're an experienced Moodler, because every time we do it, every 6 months, we use the latest version of Moodle. So it's an opportunity for you to try out what's new in Moodle using this course. So if you haven't been on it, I don't know why you haven't, but will you please join in June? If you have, spread the word so other people can try it. Okay?
So how many people have done Learn Moodle MOOC? Okay, so there's a big portion over there who's going to do it in June, yes? And that group at the back, I think there's a group over here as well. You all volunteered by not putting up your hand. You realize that, yes? Sorry.
Can I just make a comment about the MOOC as an experienced Moodler? What makes it quite interesting is the way it uses Moodle, because actually it tries to use a lot of the kind of social learning features. So if you're someone who kind of either is a developer or builds Moodle courses, it's really interesting to actually experience Moodle yourself as a student, even if it's a MOOC, not a formal course. So just seeing Moodle as a student and using some of the social tools makes it really quite interesting, and it's not a big time commitment. So yeah, I recommend it.
Thank you.
I think it is very good. I mean, how many years did you spend studying, say, as a student throughout your life so far?
You've not stopped, have you?
8 years full-time by the time I did an undergraduate and PhD, and then since then I've been doing OU courses on and off for about 8 years.
But what about primary and secondary school?
Oh, that too, yes.
So let's say 15 years, yeah? But so everyone usually spends 15, 20 years learning as a student. But actually online, lots of teachers and lecturers and staff, first thing they're doing is teaching, not actually learning. And so the Learn MOOC, it's free and it's an opportunity for them to experience the whole system as a student and then help them make good teaching decisions and know what that teaching decision is going to do to their students. And I think that's one of the interesting things. I find that invaluable on the Learn Moodle MOOC myself. So Juan, can you give us an update on the mobile area, please?
Well, the first thing I would like to say is that, as Mary said, I invite you to join the Moodle.org forums. We have this Moodle for Mobile forum. We like to read that forum, and we really appreciate the feedback from teachers, site administrators, anyone, or even students using the mobile app. So if you have any suggestion, feedback, or any doubt, please join the forum, because there is an active community there. And I think that one of the strengths of Moodle is this, that we are an open source community, and I always love that idea. So I really like to participate in forums, to have this kind of discussions that helps always to improve the mobile app. Regarding the mobile app features and this kind of thing, so I said yesterday or in my presentations, in Moodle 3.3 we'll be supporting the 95% of functionality from a student point of view, or modules, resources, and activities. And for Moodle 3.4, we'll be supporting all in core modules from the student point of view, right? And we are also working in improving how teachers can use the mobile app. Right now, teachers can participate in forums, can grade assignments, and we are working in improving rating, grading, and this kind of things that teachers find useful. And we have also plans to improve the user interface, update the framework we use to use these new modern patterns in mobile apps. So we will be very active developing the mobile app. It's an ongoing project. It's not going to end never. We have a dedicated team. So the plan is to improve, add more functionality. So I would recommend you to follow closely the Moodle for Mobile forum announcements, Moodle News, where we announce the new release, and stay tuned with the new features.
I think it is important to understand as well, just because the new features are there with 3.3, the way it works is that there's a plugin that you can install if you have an older version, where you can then get those features on that within the mobile app. So I know an awful lot of people haven't gone full into mobile apps yet, and that came clear in the panel. However, it is something you can try it out and pilot it and see what it's like. I know some colleges which are just using it as a clicker, or a free clicker, like using choices in their classrooms for interactivity with their students. Shocking idea, really, actually getting students to participate in a classroom. So what's your experience in communicating with the Moodle team and the rest of the Moodle community, either on Moodle.org or on Tracker as well, where all the QA testing sort of is reported and recorded? So would anyone like to give their thoughts on that, like Tim did about Learn Moodle? Come on, don't be shy. Don't be shy or I'll just pick on somebody.
just a question, because I was not that familiar with the tracker. Sometime I had an issue and I did try to raise a ticket, and a red bar was coming like, have you checked all over the place where this has not been reported, etc., etc., and I couldn't find the next step, what I have to do.
Well, I think if you think about any sort of issue tracker, there's a few sort of steps that you want to do, so we don't have the same issue constantly being created by lots of different people. So the first thing you do, if you have ran into a problem, I usually Google search it. One, because it goes across all the Moodle sites in one go, but also then I would go into Tracker and I would search against that component. So someone was talking to me today about a workshop issue that they had found. And so going and searching there will rule out whether someone has already reported it, maybe it's already been fixed, or maybe it hasn't been reported at all. So that's one thing you can actually check, is it already in Tracker, and that's important before you raise an issue. Another thing is you can, by searching the forums and using Google search again, it's quite a good way of digging deep into them. You can see if anyone else has asked the same question as well, and maybe it hasn't gone to Tracker because it's just a configuration issue or something like that. And the last place is docs. So yes, this is very much about self-help and double checking, because it would be quite terrible if we had 7 or 8 of the exact same issue in Tracker, because we just end up having to close them. And so do look first to see, is this an issue? Has it been reported? Has it been solved? And maybe, I mean, I've seen sometimes with some minor bugs that someone then puts a patch. Hey, I found this problem and here's the solution. And ultimately that can end up with Dan's team and get integrated into core because it's a bug fix.
I think I remembered what it was, and I don't think there was any reference to that. Is when you change, say, a record, and you want to find out what was the previous version of the record, and somehow I couldn't see that you get whatever the updated version was only.
Okay.
Probably later that somebody has changed something, but I couldn't find any reference to that thing until it was quite, I could say, 2 or 3 weeks later. So I don't know if it was somebody else reported that and it's been not showing when that red bar was coming to me without me having the ability to see what's going on after that.
One thing I would say is, despite what Gavin says about searching for issues and doing all this kind of work, it really helps us when you do that, but don't feel intimidated from creating an issue. I think we would much rather that you reported the issue than it goes unfixed because you're overwhelmed by, you know, because our development process is quite complex. There's quite a lot of steps to it. Some of that's, I mean, it's just come over time. We're a big project. There's a lot of quality control things, as I say, but yeah, just getting them in and actually posting on the forums is a good step as well, because often someone will link to you. But it does happen all the time that people create a bug or they report a bug and it's already been reported 100 times. I do it myself all the time, and I can tell you to do it because I don't do the job. We have someone who triages all these issues and gets rid of all the duplicates, but I don't do it, so you go ahead and carry on.
Somebody else's problem. I like it. No, but it is. Yeah, don't be intimidated, but it is something just, again, the forums is usually where a lot of those questions first start and then end up in Tracker afterwards.
I mean, to determine whether to post it on the forum or on the Tracker, really, the Tracker isn't a place to ask questions, it's to report a specific issue.
Just to say, it would be a very good idea to put out a quick forum post to see if anyone else is having the issue first, and then, you know, and then when you sort of confirm that there's genuinely a problem here, then you put it in Tracker. The other thing is, Mary mentioned QA.moodle.net. Moodle.net, there are various demo sites. Just go to the demo site and you make the bug happen there. Because if the bug happens there, it's definitely not just your side. So
Absolutely, because actually it can be a plugin that you've installed on your site, or you never know unless you've tested it like that. So that's a very good suggestion. Do test on one of the demo sites just to replicate it, because when you get around to reporting it, one of the steps is explain how to replicate that bug.
Can I ask a question? So there's people in this room, like I can see Moodle Partners and large organizations. Do any of you ever sort of get involved in the testing of the current release? Like, would any of you look at Moodle 3.3 right now when we're asking for it? Yep. And is anyone willing to tell us a reason why you wouldn't want to get involved in that process? It's just because you're focused on other areas at the time, or can we?
Microphone behind you.
Yeah, we became a Moodle partner at Leo about a year and a quarter ago, and our first year has really been focusing around the sales side of it. And I think I've mentioned to Gavin previously, we need to sort of focus now a bit more on how the development team interacts with you guys. And I'd like for the teams to be able to at least patch bugs and send those things back, if not contribute code on a more sort of formal basis. But yeah, the reason we haven't so far is simply other priorities so far.
Okay, who else? Any, as in,
I basically said pretty much what I would say. I mean, we're not yet partners, but we do tend. I think mainly the issue is time and funding for that sort of work. So paid client work will always take priority over what we would really like to do to help with the development of the community. But it's always an aspiration. It's never something that can quite be accommodated at any given point in time, which is always a problem.
I obviously completely understand, like, everyone's got their own priorities for it, but I guess one of the things I was trying to get across is maybe it can help you stop you running into issues later down the line, and then us being slow to respond to, because I think there is like an issue that we need to think about really in Moodle HQ, of the fact that we're very focused on, like right at the moment, we're very focused on Moodle 3.3 and getting it out. And then by the time that people have deployed it and they encounter issues, we're really focused on the next thing. And there's,
by then it's 3.5. I mean, a lot of people who are deploying this summer are deploying 3.2. So we're already, 3.3 will have just been released. We'll be really focusing on solving any of those bugs which are found after release. So I do think that what Dan's trying to say is, if you spend a day of your resources now doing an upgrade to 3.3 with your current site on a non-production site and helping test, that's going to help you in the future. You will save more time because any issues you find will get resolved in advance. Where the chance to respond, it will take longer to deal with those issues. So we would ask you to participate in the community, as in, unfortunately it is these times of years, just after code freeze, this is the time we really need your help.
I think we've got a comment over here around this area.
This is really something I was going to comment on before, but it ties into what's being said here now. One way to maybe, it was the Learn Moodle MOOC that got me thinking. Is there any way that you could set up something similar to that for administrators and maybe even for developers who are relatively new to Moodle potentially, or people who are coming in thinking, there's this Moodle system, how do I even start to begin to engage with that? And just to continue that engagement as well. But if you had something like a MOOC around some of these things as well, you could use that MOOC as part of your testing round, and so it's both, it catches two things, doesn't it? It's both a learning experience for the people taking part, but you're also getting some of that valuable information and testing that you maybe need, and it's good for the community. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's one area which, people have asked about. Are we going to do a teacher MOOC? And it is unlikely that we're going to be doing the administrator side. We do have some developer tutorials that have been ongoing developed, and they were improved last year, and the dev docs are being improved. But that's basically what the Moodle Partner Network is for. So organizations like Leo or Blackboard, Web Anywhere, they provide the training on that administrator level or developer level rather than us. We're very limited in what we within Moodle HQ can do in that respect. But I do think we maybe could do something around this area about being able to pre-test and try and do some sort of community engagement. Might not be a MOOC or some training, but I certainly think that is a very good idea. Whether it's a webinar-driven thing around QA testing or something like that, because at the moment it is very much volunteer, do it yourself, ask any questions, but I think we need to do something there. That's a very good idea. Thank you.
Thank God I caught that. Can I just put the challenge out, just based on Gavin's comment there, can I put the challenge out to any of the partners to develop that MOOC that Maggie just suggested? I think it'd be a good investment. Acknowledging the limitations that Gavin said, I totally agree with the logic behind it, but any Moodle partners in the room that want to do that, I know several people that will sign up.
Yeah, but, well, they sell the training, that's the point. And the training helps fund Moodle. So it isn't about, and that is the difference, I think. So, other people with their experience? Oops.
Almost missed it. Occasionally I've done some peer reviews, and in the past when I was doing a peer review on a piece of code that wasn't developed by a core Moodle developer, it's sometimes after I finished my peer review it got stuck because I never had the send to integration button, and there didn't seem to be a clear way to go. Well, my peer review's done and it needs to go there.
I've posted about an informal label somewhere about that, but we can talk about it afterwards. What I would say is just raise some noise about it, join the developer chat and say, oh, I've peer reviewed this, but it's not been sent to integration. The Moodle developer chat, I'm sure you can, if you search for it, you'll find it. It's like telegram.me/Moodle dev, I think. But yeah, or come and speak to me. I've posted some slides on Twitter. The link is in there as well. But yeah, just feel free to raise some noise. I mean, things like, so the reason, I'll explain, we have like this permission system on the Moodle tracker, so people sort of graduate from one level to the next to be able to do things. And sort of the reason for that, it's not because we want to, well,
you want to be able to trust us
we want to control it, yeah. So it's not helpful for anyone if someone who doesn't know anything about Moodle development just approves every single issue and then sends it to integration, and then we have like 100 poor issues and we have to filter through it. So yeah, but just feel free to just use informal channels, particularly with things like that. Yeah. Tim's got a comment. Can we pass the microphone?
Yeah, hold on.
That's what I was trying to mention.
Okay, so who here uses WhatsApp? Who here uses Telegram? Okay, so I'll install Telegram. Telegram's a really nice app which works on your desktop, works on tablets, works on phones. It's linked to your phone number in the same way. And it's great. I mean, I use it for business all the time and sort of for me, one-on-one discussions, but that's what's now used by the developers, and HQ uses it for its communication as well. So it's very handy, it's quite secure, very secure. So, well, please install it and try it. You can just join that dev chat and you can watch what's going on, and even if you're not a developer, you can see how they're interacting. And it is very revealing. And if you do have a question as a developer, you can also ask in there too. So I think it's really worthwhile, but since only about 3 people put up their hands for having Telegram, more install it, please.
Wow.
If you're a developer.
Yeah, if you're not interested in people talking about Git and ternary operators, then...
A what?
Exactly.
That was fascinating, that chat on ternary operators, I hasten to add. It was fascinating.
Sorry?
That chat was fascinating.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so anyone else want to contribute their experience in working with the community or engaging with it, either on Tracker, forums?
Just as a positive feedback, we have contributed a couple of times where we found defects in some penetration testing that we worked with one of our clients on, and just to say that we were really impressed with the way that the issues were taken on, evaluated, and patches were available practically the next day for the issues. So it's a really positive experience that we've had, and that isn't just as Moodle HQ. It's been plugin developers as well, or theme developers where we've found some issues, and that process when it's been reported has worked very well for us.
I'll just say a bit about the way that we deal with security issues in Moodle, because it is different to. So we provide a new Moodle secure point release, which is where we include the security fixes every 3 months, I think, or is it 2 months? Anyway, 2 or 3. Two.
It's a log day.
And when somebody reports a security issue to us, we ask them to do that in the tracker where it's secured, and security issues are private by default, so nobody else can read about how you could exploit it, how you could cause a problem with Moodle. We bunch the security fixes up to these releases once every 2 months, so that administrators have a kind of fixed timetable of when these security fixes are coming, so it allows people to plan around the security releases. So if you report a security issue to us, we'll ask you to keep the details private. We'll produce a fix, it'll be tested, and then up to 2 months later, the fix will be released along with a load of other security fixes if there needs to be. And we hold off for a week before disclosing more information about it. It's called, it's like an industry standard practice called responsible disclosure. So we disclose, we treat security issues extremely seriously, and part of this process is just to keep your Moodle site safe and respond quickly to them. But sometimes it might, because you said there was a fix available the next day, and I'm just trying to say, you might report a security issue and you won't get it as fast as that, and that's to help the whole community so that people can plan around it.
And I think it's really important that in understanding that, so we do release those releases every 2 months. Now, how many people here have their Moodle site registered? Okay. It is really important for the rest of you to register your Moodle site. You will get notifications for upcoming releases, or as soon as a release happens, and information about any other security issues that come up. So where there was another one there that at least there was some noise in public about it, and it was a bit more misinformation because it was the people who were writing about it didn't quite fully understand some of the aspects. So we then would send out an extra message to those registered sites so those administrators would know what the truth was and send them to the correct information. So if you haven't got your site registered, it's really important to do so for that purpose. However, it's also important for a second purpose. Your site needs to be registered. So if you use the mobile app, notifications are possible, okay? Because that registration is the first of 2 steps to be able to get access to our notification server. So you need to register for that reason as well. So if you haven't, please go and register your site. If you don't know if it's registered, please go and check if it is registered. And if you run into any problems, just email support@Moodle.
Yeah, it does sometimes happen that you try to register and you get some kind of error message. Send an email to support@moodle.org and we will check it out for you and try to troubleshoot it for you. Support@moodle.org. In actual fact, if you click the link in the documentation, it tells you that same thing as well.
So it is really important to let us know, because it helps us understand how many sites are out there and then get you information which is important to you at the right time. Okay. Who else would like to contribute their thoughts? Come on, don't be shy. Pardon? No? Okay then. Okay, shall we just finish off then? I think everyone's probably just a bit tired after the few days. It has been pretty full on.
And last night.
What do you mean last night, Dan? I thought it was this morning. Who was the latest, by the way? I heard there was 3:30 some people this morning. Anyone go past 3:30? Anyone admit to going past 3:30? Okay, maybe not. But anyway, Pardon? They checked the bar, they're still in there. Well, I know some of them have already gone in there to top up. So anyway, thank you very much for coming along to the Moodle MOOC. Next year it is most likely going to be going towards Glasgow, but not totally finalised, but we shall see. But in this year, there's quite a lot of other Moodle MOOCs all around the world. So this Friday, I'm over in Dubai at the Moodle Majlis there. Moot isn't the word we use over there because moot means something else rather than a village gathering. Or in this case, it sort of came from Lord of the Rings originally for this Moodle MOOC. And then we have one in New Orleans in July. It's being ran in parallel to Blackboard World there, working with Blackboard on Moodle rooms on that. Then we also have one in Miami in November. Who wants to go to Miami in November? Okay, wanting to. Well, submit some papers then and get some funding. Miami in November sounds really nice. And then, of course, I think it's Sydney at the end of September as well. Haven't been in Sydney since 2003 when we watched Johnny Wilkinson score a drop goal. So, pardon? And France in June, yes, absolutely. Sorry, of course, France in June. I forgot. Where in France? Is it Lyon? Is it Lyon in France? Yeah. So that should be cool. Or not cool in June, but it would be nice. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dan, Mary, and Juan. And thanks to the rest. Oh. Go on. He needs a microphone. Come on. Just one more. Okay, Tim, you're not on my team in the netball games, okay?
While Gavin was thanking everyone else, I think we need to thank Gavin and the rest of the team at Moodle HQ that made this moot happen. So should we give them a big round of applause?
Thank you. But the rest of the team back in the HQ, of course, are asleep now. But they'll see the video. So thank you very much. And yeah, so that's it. Go forth and enjoy yourself, and see you next year.